it doesn't mean you're going to be struggling. I always say, like, what's easy now is once hard. There's no question about it. And what's hard now will soon be easy.
So, I was having this conversation a while back with a client of mine at the gym where I coach, and it brought to mind some messaging we get from our most successful clients. Definitely over the years, I know we've heard this, but anyway, a little context here. So, as you know, Adam, end of last year, herniated a disc. Not a fun experience. I know plenty of people out there have had that experience, or just hurt your back in general, right? So just not good at all. And this client of mine, sweet guy, that I've known for several years, asks quite frequently, how's it going? How are you doing? Are you recovering? You taking it easy? Of course, I'm doing the best I can. And he just said to me one day, go slow, because you're in it for life. And immediately, Adam, I was like, oh, don't tell me to go slow. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I wanted this issue to be dealt with and healed and off my plate and off my back yesterday. So I hated that. But then I got to thinking, like, his saying that you're in it for life almost became like this bit of permission and a reminder. Because for sure, this is for life. This injury is for life. I'm going to have to pay attention to my back and to my body for life if I never want to hope to never experience that again. But also, it gave me a permission to just take my time with my body and try to heal it as best I could, because I get to be active for life. I get to choose to be active for life in any way I possibly can. So then it got me thinking, like, this sounds an awful lot like, I think we've even asked former clients that are successful, like, what are some things that you wish you had known at the beginning? Maybe some hard truths about this journey of getting healthy, getting fit, losing weight that you recognize now. And I think 3 really come to mind. So I thought we could talk about that today.
Love it. Great intro. Totally agree.
Okay.
When I was dealing with my shoulder thing, I wanted it gone ASAP as well. And, my doctor said, listen, treat this as a year-long thing. And it really just helped me be like, all right, this is a year long. I can give it a year. And he even said it could take up to 2 years. And just being able to say, all right, like, this is the timeline, made it a lot easier for me versus every day wishing, like, is it better? Is my strength back? Can I do what I used to do? Can I live? Like, and you know what? After a year, thankfully, my strength is back. So it really helped having that expectation up front. And I think the idea for this is to share some of these hard truths that successful clients have shared with us for those who are new to this journey or during or going or in the journey still, although the journey never ends. So I'm excited to dig in.
Cool. So let's jump in then, and probably with the one that I know got a knee-jerk reaction for me. It did for you. And I guarantee anybody who's on this journey, they hate this one, but we have some buts, right? So the first one is, it is not a fast journey.
Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah. On average, let's just say average speed is not fast, right? And what I mean by that, right? And we both know this, Adam. There are going to be times where you move faster, and there are going to be times where you go slower. Like, I love your analogy of driving across the country. Sometimes you're going to be in a traffic jam, and sometimes it's going to be an open highway. But on average, this journey is slow. So why don't you give me your initial thoughts, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, listen, no one wants to hear it's going to be slow. Everyone wants results yesterday, and if not yesterday, today. But as we touched upon last week, if you approach this journey with, I want this as fast as possible, get me the results right away, you're just missing a lot. And going back to the, cross country analogy, sure, if you're driving from New York to California, you might get to Nebraska faster, but you're not going to get to your final destination faster, and it's certainly not going to be in a sustainable way. And sometimes, slowing down will actually help you speed up. But I think having the expectation and going into this and saying, instead of how can I get results as fast as possible, it's far more effective to say, how can I get results in a way, or how can I approach this in a way that I can sustain for the rest of my life? Because easy come, easy go. If you're losing weight super fast, that's just not going to be sustainable. It's not.
Right.
And we all know this. And
Yes.
sure, you can restrict, you can really restrict, you can exercise for hours a day, you'll lose weight fast, but that is not sustainable, realistic, or desirable.
Right. We often say, lose it the way you plan to maintain it. Right.
Exactly.
And the reason for that is you need to learn these behaviors, right? Like you can't just do it once and expect it to stick. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is a while back we talked about flying under the radar, right? And when the brain and body experience extreme change, it's like alarm bells go off, and there's a lot of processes and natural things that are going to get in your way. So if you restrict too much and over exercise, well, your body and your brain are only going to tolerate that for so long before they step in and sabotage. So by moving at a slower pace, changing at a slower pace, physically, mentally, emotionally, behaviorally, you fly under that radar and those changes can stick and last. Not to mention there's also health benefits to, if you're losing weight, lose it slowly, right? So there's a lot of reasons to kind of take that Sunday drive approach to this journey.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point. And I also think when you're going fast, there's a lot of, white knuckling. There's a lot of like, all right, I'm just going to push through this. And sure, willpower, I think, gets a bad rap. Willpower is effective from time to time. But if you're only relying on willpower, it's eventually going to fade. You're going to burn out, right? So what I mean by that is like, sure, you might have a few cravings. You might say, all right, I can push through this. But what happens if you actually got to the root of the cravings and you no longer have to deal with that, right? So, in the former, you're just kind of not dealing with that. You're just willing yourself to kind of push through them. In the latter, you're dealing with the root issue. And if you deal with the root issue, that's so much easier, right? So yes, it might take a little slower in the short term to uncover all that stuff, deal with all the emotional stress and MPH stuff we love talking about, mindset, psychology, and habits. But it's going to be so much easier once you get through it, right? If you don't confront it, then you'll never conquer it. So That's the way I think about it.
Oh, and you know what? I didn't want to go without saying this, because this is something that, the successful clients have said was a hard truth for them to recognize. But right, it's slow, it's not fast. But I can't tell you how many times I have worked with a client who is succeeding or achieved their goals, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this actually took so little time, right? Like maybe it was 6 months, a year, maybe a little more than that. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a blip. It's a blip of time.
Right.
Right.
Well,
it feels slow on the journey, right? But
yes, exactly. That's a great point. I mean, we hear it all the time. And people who kind of reach their goal physically, they're like, I wish I started this sooner. And it is, in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. Especially when you do it the right way, right? Because to me, again, the right way is doing it the approach, with the MPH, really focusing on root issues, things like that. You're going to save so much time doing it the right way versus, just these restriction binge kind of mentalities of just like, I have to suffer, I have to do this as hard as I possibly can. And you do that over and over and over again versus just doing it the right way the first time.
Right.
Or the next time.
Whenever you choose to do it the right way. Like my mother, she taught me, I'll never forget this lesson. What you said just popped in my brain. I remember as a kid learning to fold towels. This is a ridiculous story.
Go give it to us.
And I remember folding towels one day and she came out and made me fold them again. And she looked at
Mm.
me and she said, do it right the first time and you won't have to repeat it.
A
So
lot of
weird.
wisdom in that.
I'm telling you, I fold towels the right way the first time now, don't you know?
Might have to have you do a YouTube video for us to show us how to fold towels.
Oh my gosh, I've got all the towel folding skills.
Love it.
Okay, so that was hard truth number 1. It is not fast. It's okay, take the Sunday drive. Number 2, another one that, man, yes, even the successful clients had to experience and learn to work through. Adam, plateaus, I know you love this word, plateaus are part of the process. So I'm going to let you talk through that one first.
Yeah, I personally think that plateaus are they are inevitable. And we're just talking about your weight. If you're signed up to lose weight loss, it's not, it's just not directly down, right? It's not just linear. There's ups and downs, there's highs and lows, and the plateaus will inevitably happen. But I also think plateaus are a consistency issue, and rarely is it actually a plateau, it's a consistency issue. But part of that means consistency changes because life changes, right? There are times where we're really, really busy and we kind of just have to say, all right, I'm going to focus on maintenance, because again, sometimes no progress is progress because the alternative is gaining, right? Or losing your progress. So sometimes no progress is progress, but the weight loss changes because life changes. And we have to be able to roll our sleeves up when possible, when we want, and also be able to change and adapt when things get crazy, when life gets crazy, as it always does.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you, right? Like the consistency issue, that's kind of a mired problem, but definitely when life shifts and demands more of us, I think it's great to on this journey, and I encourage my clients to do this, when life gets like that, where it starts to challenge their consistency, I think a skill that our successful clients learn is to pivot their physical goal, right? This goal that they're working on from a progress to a maintenance goal, because that is a skill you have to learn in order to have this success for life. So I definitely agree with you there. I would say the other thing, and you mentioned, plateaus in particular for folks looking to lose weight, but we also work with a lot of people working on their fitness, whether that's,
Yep.
Physique goals, right? Or just general fitness. Maybe they're into races, maybe they're, doing Olympic lifting or whatever the case is. Plateaus are normal on all of those journeys. And it's a side effect of body adaptation as your body is changing. And so I'm going to plug it, having a coach, right, on the sideline there, making sure because you hit that point, you don't jump ship, but B, also saying, hey, this is a good sign. Your body has gotten to a point where it's adapted to what we're doing. Now we get to try something new and let's look at the options, right? So I just wanted to call out that version of a plateau because that's definitely common on this long, slow journey as well.
Absolutely. Yep. Well said.
Well, thank you. So yeah, I don't know that anything more needs to be said about that, except it's normal. It's normal and it is frustrating. I think those are hard truths about that. But it's not a signal that you're done. So definitely not a reason to bail or jump ship.
No, and sorry, just to kind of piggyback up, if anything, it's a signal to double down, because plateaus are when most people give up, right? They're on to the next thing. This isn't working. Life's getting too crazy. That is when to stick with it, right? And yes, and that's why I believe I believe in many reasons, but one of the reasons why having a coach is so powerful is they can help you navigate those plateaus. They can help you navigate those crazy times in life. Because they're all part of it. So to me, I look at it as a plateau as, all right, this is where most people are giving up. This is where kind of most people are going to give in. Now's the time to stick with it.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. All right, let's move on to hard truth number 3. And this is the one that kind of circles back to the beginning, right? Adam, this is for life, right? The truth is, there isn't an arrival. You're always going to have to work at this. And I do think our successful clients really learn how to accept and embrace that and integrate that into their lives. And, you know, sometimes you look at other people and you assume, maybe they have the fitness level you want, maybe they have the body that you want. They appear to have it easily.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, they're working at it every day, right? And I want to preface this by saying this doesn't have to be your everything. I definitely see clients, and I know we challenge a lot of clients. We say, hey, if you didn't have this to work on, what would you work on, right? This doesn't have to be your everything, but it has to be a part and in your everything.
Ooh, can you say that again?
This doesn't have to be your everything, but it has to be in your everything.
Love that.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
no, go. Keep going.
I was just going to say, like, what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be an obsession, but it has to be a daily and ever-present consideration, right? We want our clients to have these really full, flush lives. They're experiencing fun, joy, their families, their friends, their careers, travel, all the things of life with a good dose of daily consideration for their health, for their physical fitness, for their mental and emotional well-being, for their body, right? It has to be in everything, but it doesn't have to be their everything.
So good. I mean, we can go on a whole tangent of, what you just said about, health is so much more, fitness is so much more. I mean, to me, if I had to sum it up, health is the ultimate freedom. And that's what I want for people, right? For them to be free and to be able to do what they want, when they want, how they want, etc. And I just because I grew up with a sick father, so I've watched him deteriorate physically and mentally and watched him be unable to do things and see how frustrated he was. Or hear from clients saying, hey, I have a big trip coming up in a year. I want to be able to hike with my family. Like, I love that, because what's the alternative to not be able to hike, to be sitting on the sidelines, right? So we'll leave that there. I mean, obviously, health is so much more than just weight loss or fitness. It's freedom. That's the way I view it.
Yeah.
And, I think sometimes people get this misconception that it becomes an obsession. To me, I always think of it this way. It's very, very easy to exist, right? You don't have to do anything. It's harder to live. It's even harder to thrive. Ask anyone who is thriving, is the effort they put forth for striving worth it? And they will say yes, all day, every day, all week long. It takes effort. But the alternative is effort as well, right? Because if you don't do anything, if you neglect your health, that takes effort too. It takes effort to walk upstairs when you're out of breath. It takes effort to put on your shoes. It takes effort to do things when you're not feeling vibrant and energized. That takes effort too. Mm-hmm. So I guess you could say choose your effort, right? So to me, yes, it's easy to exist, and it's harder to thrive, but I'd much rather thrive all day long. Other thought is, how long do you intend to keep on brushing your teeth for? I hope I'm brushing my teeth until the day I die, right? Like, there's just certain things that require maintenance. They require effort, but it's worth it, because what's the alternative? Not having any teeth, right? Your teeth just decay. So, I always think of it in effort, and the alternative of this is not effortless. There's a lot of effort in struggling. There's a lot of effort in not feeling good and not feeling and not having confidence and not liking the way you feel and look. There's a lot of effort in that.
Yes, there is. I ask some of my clients recently, there's been a lot of, I was tired, so I was tired, and that's why. I'm just too tired. And I've said to them, but you weren't too tired to do all the other things that you did. Right? And I think that highlights it. We're gonna put effort into something. Right? Mm-hmm. That's just how it is. Why not put effort into this? And truly, if you're going to succeed, you have to embrace the hard truth that you will have to put effort into this for life. But that's
Yes.
also permission, Adam. It's permission to take a little bit of a slower approach,
Right.
right? And I know for a lot of us, it feels like an emergency. It feels like this needed to be handled yesterday so I can get on with. But when you embrace that it's for life, you will get on with it with this, right?
Yes, and I think it yields automatic. Like it brings hopefully some compassion because you're not in this for a week or a month or 2 months. It brings some compassion when you inevitably, as we all do, make a mistake in I don't even believe in mistakes or make a misstep because this is for life. This is not just for a period of time, right? There's going to be times, and we do it. Even our most successful clients, I do it all. Like we eat more than we intend to. We eat something we didn't plan on eating. Like it happens. But when you think about this as for life, I think it's easier to give yourself some self-compassion. It's easier to embrace the highs and lows. And, I think it's also important to distinguish, like, it doesn't mean you're going to be struggling. I always say, like, what's easy now is once hard. There's no question about it. And what's hard now will soon be easy. Like, there's things we struggle, like, especially people just beginning this journey, they struggle with emotional and stress eating, all this stuff. But the fact that we're working through it, that will get easier. You're not going to be struggling with that. But it still takes effort to just plan ahead, go to the grocery store. Like that's all effort, right? Like put on your, like there's effort no matter what. But I think it's important to also realize that, the struggle that you might have, especially mentally, will get easier, right?
Yes.
And to me, that should hopefully give you some hope as well. Because it's not like you're going to be, yeah.
That's a really good call out. Yeah, you're not going to be at the starting line for life, right?
Right.
And it is a big push, but I also think that's helpful too because there's skin in the game,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you go through those struggles and take your time really figuring things out, you've got something to protect. You've got something to defend. You're investing, right? So that will compel you to recognize this as a lifelong gift you've given yourself that you need to take care of.
I think it's the ultimate gift. I mean, just giving yourself health is and is freedom again. And to me, I think that's what we all want, right?
Definitely.
Can I give one bonus?
Do it.
We love acronyms. There's going to be FDR. There's going to be fear. There's going to be discomfort. There's going to be doubt and resistance. It's what you do in those moments that makes all the difference. Either you recoil and hide, or you lean into it, you talk with your coach about it, you reach out to Haley or me, and we help you work through it. But any worthwhile journey in life, because if it wasn't worthwhile, it'd be super easy and there's no struggle, right? Any worthwhile journey is going to have highs and lows. When you feel the FDR, lean into it, let us help you work through it. And the last thing, which is part of that, but I think it's worth mentioning, every one of our success stories battled, this idea of being perfect, not being perfect. They all eventually got comfortable sticking with it while being less than perfect, right? This goes hand in hand with the plateau. They got comfortable sticking with it while being less than perfect because they were able to learn how to be adaptable. They were able to learn how to turn down the dial instead of turning it off.
Those are great reminders. Absolutely. All right. Well, 3 hard truths, success stories, right out of their mouths. All right. And they're not fun. They're not fun to embrace, but in a relatively short amount of time, once you start working with it, I think you recognize yeah, this is just the way. And there's a lot of really good freedom in those 3 hard truths as well.
Yep. And I think when you could name it, you can tame it. And I think, yes, they might not be fun, but they're the truth. They're real. And again, I think when you know what to expect, it's a lot easier to get through them versus thinking it's just going to be, sunny and 70 and rainbows and butterflies all the time, which, as we all know, on some level, that is just unfortunately not possible.
Right. All right, Adam. Well, anything else you want to add?
Can we create a challenge?
Hmm. Huh. All right, let's think about it.
Let us know which is your biggest. What do you struggle most with accepting? Which truth is the hardest for you to accept?
I like it. It's a
Let
good
us
one.
know.
Okay. All right, guys, you have your homework assignment. Let us know which of those truths you are struggling with the most. And until next time, take good care.